नमो लोये सवयन्तां नमो लोये सवयन्तां नमो लोये सवायर्यां नमो लोये सौज्यायां नमो लोये सवत्रिकावती सावनम् ओंकारमेन्दु संयुक्त नित्यं जयन्ति योगिनः कामदं मोक्षदं च ओंकाराय नमो नमः मंगलं भगवान् मंगलं गौतमो मंगलं कुंकुमधारी विजेन्द्रं मंगलं नमः स्वानुभूत्या जहाति स्वभावाय भवाय विभाव निरसन जाता।
1 second. ओम नमो लोये सर्वत्रिकावर्ति हरियंताणम। ओम नमो लोये सर्वत्रिकावर्ति सिद्धाणम। ओम नमो लोये सर्वत्रिकावर्ति आर्याणम। ओम नमो लोये सर्वत्रिकावर्ति उज्जानम। ओम नमो लोये सर्वत्रिकावर्ति सावनम। ओंकारं बिंदु संयुक्तं नित्यं ध्यायन्ति योगिनं कामदं मोक्षदं चैव ओंकाराय नमो नमः। नमः समय साराय स्वानुभूत्या चकासते चित्स्वभावाय भावाय सर्वभावान्तरच्चिते अज्ञानतिमिरन्धनं ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। तीर्थंकरो जगत न जयवंत वर्तो ओंकारनाथ जिननो जयवंत वर्तो जिनना समो शरण सौ जयवंत वर्तो ने तीर्थचार जगमा जयवंत वर्तो नमो ए तीर्थनायक ने नमो ओंकारनाथ ने ओंकार संगर तेने नमो ते श्री कुंद कुंदने अहो उपकार जिन वरनो कुंदनो ध्वनि दीगनो जीन कुंद ध्वनि आप्य अहो ते गुरु काननो अहो ते भगवती मातनो ध्रुव अचलने अनुपम गति पामेल सर्वे सीधन वंदी कहो सुत केवली भाषित आसमय प्राव्रत अरे एक शुद्ध सदा अरूपी ज्ञान दर्शनमय खर कई अन्य ते मारु जरी परमाणु मात्र नथी अरे जम नेत्र ते मज ज्ञान नथी कारक नथी वेदक अरे जाने जकर मोदय निरजरा बंद ते मज मोक्ष ने ओम नमः सिद्धेभ्यो ओम नमः सिद्धेभ्यो ओम श्री शुद्धात्माने नमः। Jai Jinendra. Today is March 29, 2017, Wednesday, and we are continuing our discussion on Samasa stanza 11. That's where we are. So without further delay, I will start the screen share. We were on this slide last week when we stopped. It says, remember, this is the 11th stanza. What it says basically, in short, basically, it says conventional point of view and absolute point of view. But this conventional point of view and absolute point of view is being mentioned while staying into the area of the soul only. For example, when we say conventional point of view, this phone belongs to me. Conventional point of view. This is Samaisar book. Conventional point of view. And I am the soul. That's the absolute point of view. Here, two substances are involved. Alien substances are involved, and I am involved. But in 11th stanza, it goes into the soul's area only. And then says, what is conventional point of view? What is absolute point of view? Eternal eternal soul substance, all knower, eternal, non-doer soul substance. That is the absolute point of view. And the modes in which there are inclinations of attachment and aversion, like the deluding modes. That's number one. Second one will be a single mode which has some purity within, but still is a mode. Third thing will be absolute pure form of mode. All those things, even though they belong to the soul substance, but they are considered as a secondary. A secondary means conventional point of view. And they are infinite attribute in the soul substance. If we see the infinite attribute from divisional aspect, this is the this one is a knowledge attribute, this one is a faith attribute, this is conduct attribute. Like if we divide them, in fact they are indivisible into the soul substance. But when we are, for our understanding, when we divide undivided thing and we divide indivisible thing and we divide, that means it is also called convention point of view. So mainly this stanza goes on that one. So now we are here in which it says scriptural knowledge from certain perspective can be called direct as it experiences soul. Now scriptural knowledge means here we are talking Srutagnan. Now there is a lack of better words. Actually the Srutagnan means, Srut means to listen, means I get some form of knowledge by listening to the discourses or by reading the book, etc. That's called Srutagnan. But there is lack of better word, we call it as scriptural knowledge. So scriptural knowledge is a Srutagnan. Srutagnan means when I gather some knowledge from perception perspective, then I analyze those things, and from my previous experience I just decide certain things. For example, I had never, let's say that somebody has never seen this phone, and now you said this is a phone, then he will say, oh, that means that black thing with the receiver, when you pick it up and we dial the number, that was called phone, and now this is also called phone. Yes, because this phone works on Wi-Fi and internet, and there is no need for hard, all kind of things. Means he knew a phone from before. Now from his experience, now he analyzed and says, okay, this is the cell phone, this is a smartphone, like that. So analyzing and then understanding, that's called scriptural knowledge or Srutagnan. The one lowest form of animal means Nigod. Then 1 sense, 2 sense, 3 sense, 4 sense, and 5 sense non-sentient being. They all have mainly matignan, means perception knowledge only. They don't have intellect to analyze the fact and understand it better. For example, if there is a butterfly is looking at the light, and butterfly gets attracted to the light and goes to the fire and gets burned out. Other butterflies are looking at it, second one does the same, third one does the same. Wait a second, if I'm the human and if I see somebody's going towards the fire and gets killed, then I'll say, no, that's not the place I had to be. So I'll try to stay away from it. I'll reason it out. I will use my scriptural knowledge. And so that way I have discriminative knowledge. So scriptural knowledge is only sentient 5 beings, they have it. From now, we are born, we as a human beings are born with five senses and mind. And because of five senses and mind, now we have reasoning capacity within us. This reasoning capacity is called scriptural knowledge, and through the help of the scriptural knowledge, I'm going to understand and digest the scriptures that I read. Samaisar says certain things, Niyamsar says certain things, Pravachansar says something. What's the difference between amongst those three scriptures? Well, Niyamsar shows the pathway, that how will I be progressing from Samyak Darshan, from first Gunthana to fourth, fifth, sixth, and then seventh, and then go to 13th and 14th, and the Siddha Bhagavan. Pravachansar will give the analytical ideas about the nature of the soul substance. What is the soul substance made up of? What's the function of each and every attribute? What's the structure of each and every attribute? So those kind of things it will teach me. Samaisar will tell me that from faith perspective, Shraddha perspective, what do I have to do ultimately for betterment of my life, for my soul? So these kind of things we will know it through the scripture, by reading, by discussing, by questioning, by meditating on it, and all those things. So scriptural knowledge, I'm getting all the knowledge. I'm in the Mithyatva Gunsthanak. We are in the first Gunsthanak. We are in the wrong belief stage. But there are also gradation of the wrong belief stage. Right now, I'm in the wrong belief state, but I am going towards Samyak Darshan. I'm trying to advance towards right faith. How can I get it? Moksha Prakasha, 7th chapter. There are four divisions are there. Out of which the last division is called Samyak Sanmukh Mithya Drashti. Means the wrong believer who is on the path to obtain Samyak Darshan. What is his capacity? What is his state? What happens to him? So we are on those states. We are on that pathway. We are walking towards the pathway to obtain right faith, to obtain enlightenment, to obtain self-realization. So, how will I be able to do it? Only with the scriptural knowledge. How scriptural knowledge? First, I will read the scripture. I did not understand, so I ask question to somebody who is learned person. So I ask question. I clear my doubts. I read further. I clear my doubts further. Now ultimately I end up knowing who am I? What's my real nature? And then I ponder on the thought process continuously. And I solidified that knowledge about myself, means who am I? Then I go to the meditative state and reflect upon that knowledge which has been solidified. Remember, this is still a scriptural knowledge. And it's a wrong knowledge right now, because I'm in the first Gunsthana. I'm the first spiritual developmental stage. Now I keep on pondering, and I keep on reflecting upon and think about in deep way, and ultimately one fine moment will occur that from reflective thought process in which I'm thinking about the nature of the soul substance, that reflective thought process also starts quieting down, and ultimately I end up going to the experiencing of the soul. So how did I experience the soul? With the scriptural knowledge. So that knowledge is now called Bhavasrut Gnan. Until now, it was called Dravyasrut, means it was material knowledge. But now Bhavasrut Gnan means I have experiencing of the soul That state is a fourth spiritual developmental stage. That state is called enlightenment or self-realization and the Samyak Darshan. And in that thing, scriptural knowledge is called direct from certain perspective, because now, until now, I had an indirect knowledge. Until now, I had a reflective thought process. Now, I have primary abstract comprehension of the soul substance. Until now, I had a vikalpatma jnana. Now, I have nirvikalpa jnana. Means experiencing of the soul. That's why this scriptural knowledge from that perspective is called direct knowledge, as it is experiencing soul substance. Now, the same scriptural knowledge from other perspective is called indirect. Why? Well, if we take, remember, I was on the wrong belief state. Now I got right faith and my knowledge become right knowledge. So I'm on fourth spiritual developmental state and I am experiencing my soul substance. That's why it's a direct knowledge. It's not indirect with the reflective thoughts. It's a primary abstract comprehension. It's a nirvikalp jnana of the soul. So that's why it's called direct. But now, same knowledge, same fourth spiritual development state, and I compare with the omniscient state. Omniscient state is a perfect, pure, perfect knowledge. In that way, my samyak jnana, means right knowledge, becomes less important compared to omniscience knowledge. Remember here in second bullet, perspective change. Previously, perspective was with the wrong knowledge and right knowledge. Wrong knowledge was indirect knowledge, right knowledge was direct knowledge. Now, once I'm inside, I'm experiencing my soul substance, then my scriptural knowledge is compared with the omniscience knowledge. Omniscience knowledge is direct, it's a perfect, it's a pure and everything. And right knowledge at fourth spiritual development state, fifth spiritual development state, sixth spiritual development state is still called incomplete. So, what happens in that situation? Experiencing of the soul substance in both the things, in the omniscient stage and in my my experiencing at the fourth, fifth, and seventh spiritual state. Experiencing is same, but the knowledge at fourth spiritual development state is not complete yet, in contrast to omniscience knowledge, which is complete. So complete omniscience knowledge, complete means it knows the soul completely, with all the space point are visualized in omniscience knowledge absolutely perfectly. While the fourth spiritual development stage, fifth spiritual development stage, seventh spiritual development stage, in that thing, when the experiencing phase is going on, at that time, the supersensuous bliss is same, but so the knowledge is unable to perceive all the space points of the soul. That's why it's called indirect knowledge. So in the first bullet, it's called direct knowledge. Direct knowledge, same knowledge is called indirect knowledge because perspective change over here. Second bullet has been compared with the omniscience knowledge. First bullet is compared with the wrong knowledge. So omniscience knowledge is absolutely direct one. So this clears our doubt. We were at the last time we were at this point, and we are not able to. I was not satisfied with the explanation. So that way, at least we know it today. Any questions so far in this one? Okay, all right. If not, then we'll just go to the next one now. Now the faith attribute they are talking. The faith attributes mode. Remember, see what was happening here. We are talking knowledge attribute, knowledge attribute, knowledge. Now here we are talking faith attribute. Faith attributes mode experiences soul as indivisible and in the eternal nature. Remember, as we said several times before, faith attribute has only two possible presentation, whether it is a faith to the alien objects of the universe or faith to the eternal soul substance. There are only two possible modification modes, paryay, for this Shraddha Gunni paryay. Shraddha Gunni paryay બે જ રીતે હોય, કાં તો મિથ્યા શ્રદ્ધા, કાં તો સમ્યક શ્રદ્ધા. So, when in the experiencing phase, one who has experienced a soul substance, at that time, faith attributes mode experiences soul as indivisible and in the eternal in nature. Remember, each and every word is important. Faith attributes mode. Faith attribute is inert. Just like the soul substance is inert, faith attribute is inert. But it's mode where the actual action takes place. So that mode, till now, it was directed to the alien objects of the universe. An alien object means body. I have absolute, the body as a matter and soul substance, they occupy same space point. So,
Kirit uncle?
Yeah.
Can I just ask a clarification question?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you call the attribute inert, I understand that in English, and I'm just asking in Gujarati or in scripture, how do they word that?
ગુણ નિરપેક્ષ છે, number one. નિરપેક્ષ number one, અને inert એટલે આપણે I'm trying to look for the word now. અકર્તૃત્વ.
અકર્તૃત્વ, અપરિણામી એવું કહેવાય?
અપરિણામી, yes, that's what I was looking for. અપરિણામી or અકર્તૃત્વ. શ્રદ્ધા ગુણ થયો, કોઈ પણ ગુણ, any attribute, they are inert. They are non-apparinami. They don't have any changes occurring within them. Only mode, only paryay coming out from there is the showing the actions. So whenever we talk action in a given soul substance, right away bulb should go in our mind that we are talking about mode. Doership means mode. Non-doership means soul substance and attribute. Okay, so this attribute, the mode of this attribute knows the soul as an indivisible, eternal in nature. Now, in compared to the faith attribute, what does knowledge attribute do? Knowledge attribute, while soul is getting, while somebody is getting experiencing of the soul, while somebody has gone into the soul substance, now he's experiencing the bliss. Remember, at fourth spiritual development state, what happens? My faith mode was to the alien object. Now the faith mode came to the eternal soul substance, and at that time experiencing is going on. Experiencing on fourth spiritual development state, experiencing. Fifth spiritual state, experiencing. Seventh spiritual state, experiencing phase. At that time, whatever, there is a primary abstract comprehension, means nirvikalpta. When nirvikalpta is there, primary abstract comprehension is there. What does knowledge mode do at that time? Knowledge mode knows the soul directly as well as indirectly. How come? Faith attribute sees the soul as an indivisible and eternal, while knowledge attribute, the mode of the knowledge attribute will know direct and indirect divisions. Why? Because the knowledge attributes mode has self and alien illumination property number one. The knowledge attributes mode has a capacity to know the indivisibility as well as divisibility, both. It can know divisions also, it can also know the indivisibility. So knowledge mode will say, yes, all these attributes are indivisible way in the soul substance, but at the same time, each and every attribute is separate and they remain in a divisional form also. They maintain their individuality. In spite of remaining as an indivisible, they still maintain their individual. This room has, for example, two lights, blue light and red light. The light into the room will be uniform, mixture of both in the indivisible pattern, but still blue light will maintain its importance in the blue form and red light will maintain its importance in the red form. So knowledge mode, while experiencing is going on, will know all those things. Knowing. The knowledge mode's function is knowing. Faith is blind. Faith says, either I just do the alien objects illuminate, if I have faith on the alien object or faith on the eternal soul substance in indivisible way. Well, knowledge knows in both ways, divisional way and indivisible way. Faith mode experiences soul in indivisible way, even though there is presence of divisions in the attributes present. Faith mode makes everything secondary and says, for me, my importance is eternal, indivisible soul substance. Eternal, indivisible, all-knower soul substance. That's it. While faith experiences indivisibility, knowledge knows with division and indivisible way, both ways. So now remember, when the experience occurs, the aspirant soul is not going to say, okay, there are division, there are non-divisions and all the things. He is just imbibed into the happiness and bliss of the soul substance. But knowledge, undercurrent of knowledge will keep tab of all these things. Compared to eternal indivisible soul substance, even though omniscient mode is considered a literal conventional point of view, now Acharya Bhagavan changes the gear a little bit from the source, from the attribute perspective. Now he comes to the mode, modal aspect. What is modal aspect? Modal aspect lasts transiently. Modal aspect means knowing the mode. What does mode know? Mode is existing only for one moment, one samay, and it goes away. So if I had a modal perspective, then one moment this mode came, went away. Second moment, second mode came and went away. Third moment, third mode came and went away. So I cannot put my attention to this mode because they are ever changing, ever originating and disintegrating. So omniscient mode also. Remember knowledge attribute? Knowledge attribute is having omniscience mode. Mode means action. All knowing action going on in the mode. And so in omniscient mode is considered as conventional point of view as compared to eternal indivisible soul substance. Remember this point we keep on hammering again and again. Perspective, perspective, perspective. What perspective am I using? Here I'm using the individual eternal soul, indivisible eternal soul substance. If I keep that one as a perspective, then one moment of omniscient mode is also considered a conventional point of view, Sadbut Vyavarne, or literal conventional point of view. Remember, it is an omniscient mode I'm talking. We are talking omniscient mode. And if omniscient mode is also considered conventional point of view, then right faith's mode, the mode of the aspirant soul from the 4th spiritual development state all the way to 12th spiritual development state. They are purer. Each and every state, that mode becomes pure and purer and purer. Ultimately, it becomes purest in the form of omniscient mode. But if omniscient mode is considered as a conventional point of view, then rest of the modes, they are conventional. So, what happened? Inclusive of attachments. Now, in this one, we talked about only pure mode from the aspirant soul. Aspirant soul at 4th spiritual, aspirant means a sadhak jiv. Sadhak jiv means the one who has obtained right belief, one who has enlightenment, one who has self-realization, one who has samyak darshan. That samyak darshan jiv, his modes, pure and purer and further purer, and a complete purity is called omniscient mode. All those pure modes are considered as a convention point of view. So, in the same soul substance, inclusive of attachment and aversion are also occurring. Anger, deceit, ego, greed are also occurring. And so, what about those modes? Well, it is pretty obvious that if this mode, omniscient mode, is considered conventional point of view, then inclusive attachment mode definitely is called conventional point of view, but this is called Sadbut Vyavarne. This is called Rag mode is called Asadbut Vyavarne. It's called metaphorical conventional point of view, and this one is considered literal conventional point of view. When one directs attention to the eternal indivisible soul, then he does not perceive the transiency or divisions. Now, remember, let's say that I'm in New York and I want to go to Florida. And whatever the exit I'm going to take on Highway 95 South, I know that that certain exit, when I'm reaching Florida, it will be there. While I'm driving, I know I have to drive for 10, 12 hours or whatever number of hours I have to drive. In between, lots and lots of signs will come. For New Jersey sign will come, the Washington DC sign will come, Virginia, all those signs will come. I will see them. But I make them secondary because they are not important for me. Important is when it says Florida, 150 miles, Florida, 100 miles, Florida, 50 miles, or whatever, then I'm going to be concentrating on that. Rest of the signs I saw, they are not important for me. I make them secondary. For example, let's say this is our personal this is our personal experience, that suppose we are supposed to buy a new car, and we have some idea in our mind, I would like to have Lexus. Suddenly on the road, you will see, every day you are driving, you never see how many cars are passing by. Suddenly you said, oh, that red Lexus passed by, white Lexus passed by, black Lexus passed by. And so because you have importance there. Yesterday, all the cars were passing by, you never paid attention. And today, suddenly, you started seeing those things because you are important. Same way, when eternal soul substance, indivisible, eternal, all-knower soul substance is my aim, then within my soul substance, there are division of the attributes are present. There are modes present which are lasting for one samay only. Remember, I'm sitting in the soul substance right now, and I see division of the attribute. I see the transiency of the modes and everything, but they all are made secondary because my attention is eternal soul substance. This is like I have a very pinpoint unidirectional attention. That's my eternal soul substance. So everything else being present, they are becoming ignored. They are becoming secondary and thereby not perceived. There is a story of Arjun that when Arjun was supposed to be learning about the bow and the study of the arrow, how to throw the arrow and everything. And Drona is their teacher, and he is taught to everybody, all the 100 Gaurav and Arjun, etc. And everybody's turn comes, and Guru Drona says, "Okay, what do you see?" The people, the guy will say, "Well, I see a sky, I see a blue sky, and I see forest, and I see one tree, and all." Then Drona said, "You fail." When Arjun's time came and says, "What do you see?" He has his arrow is ready on the bow, and he says, "I see the right eye of that toy bird. I don't see anything else around." Because he's concentrated on one point only, everything else, even though it's present, he had made them secondary and ignorant. Similar way, when an aspirant soul attains to the eternal true nature of the soul, then divisional aspect of the attributes and transiency aspect of the mode becomes secondary. Now they're saying partial point of view. In the first bullet, when direct attention to eternal indivisible soul means what? When I have my attention drawn to the direct attention to the eternal indivisible soul substance. What does it mean? It means that it's called partial point of view or pure point of view. It makes the object of this eternal true self. So my aim, my attention, my partial point of view is going to one and one thing only. And that partial point of view is called pure point of view, Suddha nahi. Partial point of view makes the subject only to one makes the subject only to one aspect. I'm just looking at eternal soul substance only. Everything else is secondary to me, as if they are not present there. Even though they are present, but they are ignored. They have been ignored. Gurudev Sri Kanji Swami kept on saying again and again and again in every lecture, every Swadhyay, that when you are looking, when you are bringing your attention to the eternal indivisible soul substance, at that time, division of the attributes and transitoriness of the modes, they are present. You are making them secondary. You are ignoring them, but they are not. You don't have to understand. You don't have to believe that they have never been there. Some people make that kind of mistaken understanding. All I believe in eternal soul substance, and I don't believe in divisions, and I don't believe in transience and everything. And that way he ignores, and he just said that they are not present at all. No, they are present. Their presence is accepted, but they are made secondary. So that point Gurudev kept on hitting very subtle way and direct way also, because just by having, if we are sitting right now and he says, I believe in eternal true nature of the soul substance only, and that's it, and all the thing, and rest of the things are not present, and they are not important, and nothing to be worrying about it, nothing to consider, and all the things I keep on saying. And then I get involved in inauspicious activities. I eat at middle of the night. I eat wrong food and everything. I behave in a garbage way and everything. That means I'm talking about eternal soul substance, but I have not known rest of the things. And Gurudev wanted to make sure it never happens. So he kept on telling this point again and again. Remember, eternal indivisible soul substance is important, but rest of the things are present. Do not ignore them. Rag is present within me. I am the generator of Rag. I am the generator of my intense of attachment. I am responsible for that. Now, I indulge in all the activity of sensual pleasure and everything, and then I say, well, I believe in eternal soul stuff. That's a fallacy. And that fallacy is a dangerous one. So I have to understand, who am I? What's my real nature? Complete knowledge, I have to have it, and then out of which, what's the best for me? My plate is full, my dinner plate is full with lots of substances, lots of food material. I know, I acknowledge them, and then I just select the best thing I like it. Same way here, knowing the whole soul structure and function, and then out of all the things, this is my aim, that's where I want to go, and that's where I will go. Pure point of view in this case makes the subject as an eternal true nature of the indivisible soul substance, and at the same time it makes everything else secondary. One must understand that when eternal soul substance is a subject, then attributes and modes become secondary and thereby conventional. They become conventional, not because this phone is a conventional point of view, because it doesn't belong to me. The attributes and modes are not like that. Attributes and modes are present within me, but compared to pure point of view, compared to eternal indivisible soul substance, I have made them secondary, and that's why they are conventional. Divisions are there, but are simply made secondary in nature. So those are the things that we have to understand pretty good. I learn all this thing. Yes, eternal soul substance is my aim. That's what I would like to do it and all the thing. But I have to know that in my mode, I'm the generator of my rag and dvesh. I'm responsible for those things. And I have to make sure that they also remain under control and under check. So those are things we have to be careful. Now, compared to what we learn in Jainism, how does the other philosophies propagate? And mainly it has been compared with Vedanta, Hindu philosophy. They consider only eternal soul substance as only the one present in the universe, and do not consider many souls as well as attributes and modes. Now, what Vedanta believes, there is a one Brahman, one big soul, Paramatma. He covers the whole universe. We are the living beings, just like in the big fire, the small things, they come out. Some small fire twigs, they come out. We are like those twigs came out from the fire. And ultimately, when we do right thing and everything, then we go and dissolve in that fire. We go and dissolve in that big Paramatma thing. So when I get liberated according to Vedanta, then I lose my existence and I merge into the big Paramatma. Now, If mukti, liberation means I have to lose my independence, then I don't want that mukti. In Jain philosophy, it says that when you are responsible for your deeds, you are responsible for your rag and dvesh, you are responsible for purity, you are responsible to completely get rid of rag and dvesh, and you become the full, pure, absolute, eternal, pure soul substance with infinite bliss. And you maintain your individuality at the Adobe of Siddha, Siddha Shilapa. In the Siddha Shilapa, Mahavir's soul is there and my soul is there. Both are pure, they maintain their individuality. Vedanta doesn't believe that way. Lots of time we get, see, if we don't have this information, then lots of time what happens? We end up saying, I believe in everything. Wherever is a good thing, I believe it, I accept it, and all the thing. If Vedanta says something, there is lots of good thing, so I accept it. If Jainism says something, I like it. Not that. One has to have discrimination. That's what Acharya Bhagwan says. That's what Kunkun Acharya Dev says. You have to have discrimination power within you. In Vedanta, when they believe that soul is eternal and soul never performs anything else, soul is non-doer, indivisible, and it's there. It doesn't do any act. There are no modes in the soul. That's what they believe. Now, in Samaysar also, as we are talking all along so far, soul is, I have to have my faith on eternal true nature of indivisible soul substance. So Samaysar also says eternal indivisible soul substance, and Vedanta also says eternal indivisible soul substance. So both the things appear to be same. And so somebody will say, what Gita says is just Samaysar say same thing. Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because Samaysar says soul has eternal existence with attribute, and there are also presence of modes in which action of the soul occurs, the deluding action or pure action. It all depends on the soul itself. So I am responsible for my deeds. Vedanta doesn't believe that way. Vedanta believes in a different way. So this is very thin line we are walking. And God forbid we end up with the discussion with somebody, then we can get carried away. But if we understand this part, that soul is an eternal, indivisible soul substance, that is my aim. Of course, that soul has an infinite attribute and modes, and I made them secondary, and I have not ignored them. While in this Vedanta, it will say soul is a indivisible and it non-doer, doesn't do anything. So these are the differences. We should be aware of it. And then we have to use our own discrimination. What I want to listen, what I want to follow, what I want to hear. It's all my choice. And Acharya Bhagwan says, if you understand properly, you will have your proper choice also. You will not be carried away with the flow. So what? If 100 people speak wrong thing, doesn't mean it becomes a truth. So we don't have to worry about, do I understand properly? Yes, then I have to stick to my guns. In Jainism, soul has eternal existence, yes, just like Vedanta, but they are infinite, their souls are infinite in number. And each soul has infinite attributes and modes. Existence is accepted. Where here mode is not accepted, and it says only there is one universal soul, and everybody else is a part of that universal soul. With faith directed to eternal soul substance, the modes and divisions of attributes are made secondary, even though they are present. So that point Gurudev is hitting very, very hard, that do not ignore division of the attribute. Do not ignore transiency of the mode. They are present within you. You have just made them secondary. But you are responsible for them. From one aspect, there are divisions, and from other aspect, there is indivisibility. So now perspective is used, and that perspective function, that partial point of view, is the specialty of Jainism. Nowhere else it's been described in that extreme detail. So that's why one time one of our colleagues used to say that there's an elevator speech for Jainism. You're in the elevator, somebody says, "Oh, you are Jain, what does it mean?" And by the time the floor comes, you have to explain everything about Jainism. Ahimsa, aparigraha, and anekant. Ahimsa, aparigraha, anekant means non-violence, non-possession, and multiplicity point of view. These 3 points. There are 3 major pillars on which Jain philosophy is standing. So we have to have proper understanding of all those 3 things. He only directs his attention to the eternal soul substance. One takes away his attention from instrumental cause, increase of attachment state, modal state, and division of attribute. Remember, I am involved with this worldly affair. I can't get out of this worldly affair. I am involved. But knowing all the things around me, my house, my family, my children, my grandchildren, and my money and my car, all kind of things are there with me. But knowing my eternal soul substance nature, I make everything secondary. What are the things I'm going to make secondary? One is instrumental cause. All these things. This phone is mine. So phone is an instrumental cause for me making this ownership on it. This Samay book, I love it. I love it. I respect it. That's an increase of attachment towards my Samay book. So all this, they are called, all the alien objects of the universe, that they are called instrumental cause. Remember, I have everything, the fruition of karma is occurring to me as an instrumental cause. Fruition of material karma is occurring as an instrumental cause. Do I want to join or do I not want to join? Who decides that? Banana peel is on the road. Who decides to walk on it or walk away from it? If I'm ignorant and I'm not looking at it, I'm just looking all around the things and everything and not looking at the peel on the road, and my foot goes on it, who falls down? Who gets a fracture of the hip? So banana peel became instrumental cause. But if I was careful walking and I would have gone away from it, that banana peel did not become instrumental cause for me. So, yeah.
Kirtanko?
Yeah.
This comes over, and this is the same thing you say at different ways and at different times. Over here, you don't. It sounds like you have the power of choice to choose, but really, before, based on other times when you've spoken, you don't have that until you've reached 4th Gunasthana, right?
Yes.
So you have to take that with a grain of salt, that we have the power.
Now, remember what perspective we are using. Number one, When do you call instrumental cause as instrumental cause? When do you accuse something?
Oh, yes, you're right. So you can only call it nimit karan when you are acting from your upadan and you're acting from your, what do you call that? Your soul,
Principal cause.
upadan cause, principal cause.
So if my upadan, my principal cause is to put attention to it, and so I'll stay away from the banana peel. But my upadan, it says, well, I'm lax in my attitude and everything, and I walk on it and I fall down. It's not the banana peel made me fall down. It's I fell down because of my own mistake, by my own fault. So I had to take the fault, I had to accept the fault and everything. See, remember, and I know that question coming to your mind from the Krambat Pariyai perspective. When we talked about that one in the past, that a Krambat Pariyai means whatever Pariyai is going to occur, it's going to occur, and that's it. But who knows that one? Who knows that I'm going to walk on this peel and going to fall down? Omniscient Lord's knowledge has known that one. I have not known. And so my job is to be careful. My job every day is to be careful. My job is to be careful. Did I do this rag and dvesh today? Yes. Am I at fault? Yes. Do I have to do it? No. Is it my nature to do it? No. Shall I stay away from it tomorrow? Yes. So that kind of work, I had to do it. And if I don't do it, then I'm going to be the most ignorant person on the earth. So I have to keep knowing those kind of things. So I don't have to, I have to be aware of those situations, okay? Look, put that Krambat Pariyai on the back of your mind and don't bring in this situation, in this discussion. Why? Because the altogether different perspective has been used there. Same question, I think Ketan asked last week also. That what happens when there is Krambat Pariyai if we believe that one? Number one, at this stage, do I have the soul's experience? Do I have a Samyak Darshan right now? No. That means whatever I know, all those things, I'm studying the Krambat Pariyai. I'm studying the modes coming in the sequential order. But the real explanation of the modes coming in sequential order only occurs after obtaining right faith on a fourth spiritual development stage. So what do I have to do till then? Well, at least indirectly I knew what happens and everything. So I have to be alert every moment and I have to be careful for every moment. Let's say that the kid went to the father and said, Daddy, I'm a very dumb kid. Yes, you are. So I'm going to fail in my exam no matter what. Okay. So that means I don't want to go to school today. What will father do to this kid? He will slap him on the face and says, if you don't go, definitely you will fail. If you go, there is chance that you may pass also. Go. So same way, here I have to change my attitude. I want to change my my belonging to the alien object. I have to try to make it a little bit loose. It is so intense right now. So intense my association with the alien objects. I want to make it loose that way. So one day I'll be able to go to my eternal soul substance and self-experiencing. So that's an aim. Once I do that, then Krambat Pariyai and everything comes into the action at the time. Until then, I know what it is. I know what to do. I have to do right thing. If I go to the school, I will have a chance to pass. But if I go with negative thoughts, then also I'm going to fail. But no, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it no matter what. That's it. If I have that attitude, I'm going to make it for sure. So attitude, attitude, attitude. My attitude has to be proper. How can I have my attitude proper? To know the real things, to understand the reality, and then go for that thing. Does it make sense to you? Sure.
Yes, thank you.
Now, so instrumental, we are in the instrument. Instrumental cause means all the alien belonging. Alien belonging is not a problem. It's a attachment to the alien belonging is a problem. Remember, we have a fruition of the old karma. Because of fruition of the old karma, you get the alien attachment. I mean, you get the alien object. You get the house, you get the car, you get the family, you get a good job and everything. Everything is there. But how much attachment do I put it towards those things? I was in New York in 1974 to 1978 in Brooklyn. And we used to get the apartment from the hospital. The first apartment we had was a studio apartment. From there, when we went to one bedroom apartment, wow, I won the game. It was a great, great experience. Even that studio apartment was bigger than my whole entire house in India. So first day when I got that studio, I was happy. When one bedroom happened, I was super happy. Then their two bedroom occurred, much more happy. Now there are 5 bedrooms, 6. What does it mean? Your attachment is important. Now if I go out and brag, oh, I have the house and I have this much bigger of house and I have such location. What does it make to you? Because of your previous karma's fruition, you got it. But your attachment has to be minimal or none. You have a car, so what? Everybody has a car and you have a car. So you're driving. Why do you have to say, oh, I have a Mercedes and I have BMW? What a big deal. Go to the repair shop and now you'll know that each time it's a $1,500 minimum. So then you're not, so objects of the world are there at your feet, but how much importance I give, that's called taking attention away from the alien causes or instrumental cause. Then there is inclusive of attachment state. My rag and dvesh, that is important also. I have to try to cut down my rag and dvesh as much as possible. Today I got extreme grief today. What was the reason that I became extreme? I have extreme grief came on me because of somebody, some of my close friend died, for example. That has to become a learning experience that one day I'm going to pass through that state also. So why should I not try to cut down my inclusive attachment and aversion? Then my modal state, my modal state means purity of this mode occurs in a fourth spiritual step development stage. Purity continues to improve from 5th to 6th to 7th to all the way to 12th and 13th Gunsthanat. And ultimately, the super purity occurs at the Siddhisila, Siddhi Bhagwan, and all the, so that modal state are to start ignoring that one or make it secondary. And ultimately, division of attributes are also within me, but I have to make them secondary because I want to direct my attention to the eternal soul substance. So these are the things to get out of it. So these are the Ved Gnan. Ved Gnan means what is the thing that I'm going to do the division of discriminative science. This is the discriminative science, how to do it. These are the not good for me. And this is the thing I want to achieve. Those are the things we have to keep in mind. Now, he makes rest as secondary. Everything, existence is not denied, but simply make them secondary. My instrumental cause, things are present. I have the house and car and the job and everything. It's there. I have the rag and dvesh. I have to be aware of it and try to cut down. I have the modal state. Yes, it's there. I have the division of attribute within me, but their existence is accepted, but they are made secondary. If one believes they do not exist, now remember this is very important bullet. One believes that they don't exist at all. That is called wrong faith, mithyatva. They are existing. Their presence is there. Their presence is there. But what I'm doing is, their presence is there, but I make them secondary. And if I say they don't exist at all, that is called mithyatva, and that is not right thing. So accept, make it secondary, and ignore. But the existence is not to be denied. And this will come a little bit more in the 12th stanza when we go. When we come, whenever we come to 12th stanza, then it will tell us that those things are to be made secondary and not to be ignored completely. For motivational purposes, the scripture are with dialectic relativism, Prayojan Vash, Jinvani, Syadvad, Rupeche. Dialectic relativism. We are talking multiplicity point of view, and now we are talking dialectic relativism. What's the difference between those two things? Anekantvad and Syadvad. Anekantvad is a multiplicity point of view. Syadvad is dialectic relativism. What's the difference between those two? Dialectic relativism means, first thing, but multiplicity point of view means convention point of view, absolute point of view, and we compare both and all the things, and those convention point of view, absolute point of view, which exist within me. That's called multiplicity point of view. What's a dialectic relativism? It's called Syadvad. Syad means kathanchit. Kathanchit means certain perspective. Vad means to speak. When I'm talking about conventional point of view, when I'm talking about absolute point of view, talking, expressing, speaking, that is called dialectic relativism. But then to see that those things they are present within the soul substance. Absolute point of view is present, conventional point of view is present, so it's a multiplicity point of view. But when I'm talking about those divisions, when I'm talking about those non-division, then it's called dialectic relativism. So it's the same thing. One is to be present inside, one is to speak about it. Motive is to prove existence of eternal true nature of the soul. That is the important thing. The motivation for motivational purpose, scriptures are showing presence of absolute point of view and conventional point of view. All those things, when we understand, ultimately, what's a motive? What's a purpose? Purpose is to understand and accept and prove the existence of eternal true nature of the self. For this motive, the principal and secondary cause aspects are used. From certain aspect, principal aspect, the soul substance is one, eternal, and with no divisions. From certain aspect. From other aspect, means secondary aspect, attributes are many with divisions, and modes are transient in nature. So there are two different perspectives we are using. This is the eternal soul substance perspective, and this is from the divisional perspective and transiency of the modes perspective. So this secondary aspect becomes conventional point of view, and third bullet becomes absolute point of view. Principal aspect is absolute point of view. They are simply made secondary. Again, same point Gurudev brings. They simply made secondary and thereby conventional, but their existence is not denied. If I'm doing increase of attachment and aversion, I'm doing rag and dvesh, I'm responsible for that. I'm binding karma for that. Fruition will come and I'll get the results of the suffering from those things. So secondary is to be made secondary, but existence is not denied. So that's why, from motivational purpose, scriptures are with dialectic relativism, means with the absolute point of view, relative point of view, multiplicity point of view, and out of which it just wants to tell us that your motive is to prove existence of eternal true nature of the soul substance. For motivated purpose, scriptures are with same thing. Yeah, same. Two perspective now. What are two perspective here? One from the self perspective. Eternal soul substance, its infinite attributes, infinite modes are all absolute in nature, and from alien aspect, the objects of the universe are conventional in nature. Now, this one perspective in which we are talking into consideration for the alien objects of the universe with me. My relations with the alien object. Here I am, and here alien object. Here I am, and this is my physical body. So both the things, how are they related? From the self aspect, this is me, and this is my physical body. So me means what? Physical body is over here, means if I'm looking from physical body perspective, that this soul substance is made up of substance, infinite attributes, and infinite mode. So this is what soul substance is made up of, which is separate from the body, physical body. So when I'm using the physical body perspective, alien object perspective, then soul, substance, attribute, mode, they all become absolute in nature. And these guys become, physical body becomes conventional point of view. One perspective. Second perspective, from eternal and indivisible aspect, the soul substance is absolute in nature, and division of the attributes and transience of the modes are considered conventional. For example, we are saying soul is over here and physical body is over here. So compared to looking from physical body perspective, this soul substance is complete and absolute, has attribute, modes, and or substance combined together. But now when I'm entering into the soul substance, I'm coming to the territory of the soul substance. What do I see? I see that there is presence of soul substance, then the attributes are present, and modes are present, and out of which soul substance is the important thing, and attribute and modes are becomes conventional. For example, you are having the house. You have the best house on the street. So from outside, when somebody is looking at that house, they say, oh my God, beautiful, perfect, absolutely great, stunning view of this house. This house appears to be very rich. It looks very wealthy person's house. Okay, so house, one is looking at the house from outside. House, it appears to be very rich. While you're entering the house, then you say, how is this house rich? There are several bedrooms are there, master bedroom is there, kitchen is there, several bathrooms are there, but there is also inbuilt storage area is also there, where there is lots of jewelry and diamond and money is kept. So what is most important part in the house then? That box where there is all those things are sitting there. Similarly here, when I'm entering the soul substance, then I said, Soul substance is made up of so many things, but what's the most important? Eternal soul substance is important, rest are secondary. So that's why we just have to consider two perspectives. Again, perspective has to be kept in mind when we talked about anything. That's a specialty of Jain philosophy, is to tell you from everything from perspectives. What perspective am I using? And ultimately, I have to come to this one. Where is that slide? I have to come to motive is to prove existence of eternal true nature of the self. That's my motive ultimately to do it. And once I do it, then it becomes perfect. So I have to take my attention away from the alien objects. Then I have to take my attention away from my physical body. Then I have to take attention from my rag and dvesh because they are my mode. Then even if I have the purity has generated within me, that mode also have to make it secondary. Omniscience mode is also to be made secondary, and in the division of the attribute have to be made secondary. And finally, dead end comes, which is the eternal true nature of the self. So all my Ved Vignan has to be done in this fashion. So that's a Ved Vignan steps that what do I do? What do I do? What do I? These are the questions we always ask. So when we ask this question, these are the things you have to do it.
Gary Uncle?
Yes.
The left trapezoid is, just correct me if I'm wrong. The left trapezoid is Asadbud Upcharit and Asadbud Anupcharit Yarane. And
Yes.
the right trapezoid is Sadbud.
Sadbud, yes.
Upcharit.
Anupcharit, yes, definitely, yes.
Is it Sadbud Upcharit or Sadbud Anupcharit?
Both. So because remember, you also take it the transiency of the mode, which includes the pure mode as well as the rag and dvesh mode also. So rag and dvesh is also becomes asadbhut, and division of attribute and everything will become sadbhut, and all the things. Pure mode also will become sadbhut. So those are the things that these are the you are looking from outside. These are two different. Remember this perspective over here, same thing. That this is my soul substance, and that's absolute point of view, because it has no attachment outside, and these are alien objects. Over here, when I'm entering the soul substance, then only eternal soul substance is my aim. That's my aim. That's a pure point of view. Everything else is conventional point of view then. Right? It makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions so far? I think we are almost there. So rather than taking new chapter, we can just stop over here. Any questions if there's there?
Then in the left trapezoid,
Yeah.
My car, and this is just, I guess, a review. My car is Asadbud Upcharit, and my body is Asadbud Anupcharit.
My body is Asadbud Anupcharit. Yes, you are right.
Okay. And then on the right trapezoid, my rag and dvesh, again, compared to the soul, my rag and dvesh is Sadbud Sadbud Upcharit, and my pure soul is Sadbud
Asadbud Upcharit. Now, remember, we went through a detail about it, that while we are on the soul substance, the mode of the rag and dvesh is of two forms. One rag and dvesh is I'm able to pick it up with my intellect. And second, the other part of the rag and dvesh is so subtle that I'm not able to pick it up. So they both become asadbhut because they are to be taken out. They are transient in nature and they don't belong to me. So they are asadbhut both. One is a rag and dvesh getting caught with my intellect, and other is a rag and dvesh I'm not able to, it's beyond my intellect to catch it up. And that's why they are both asadbhut. Right?
Yeah.
And sadbhut will be the pure mode, and the division of the attributes are also sadbhut because they are real nature of the soul. They are pure nature of the soul. So rag and dvesh are thrown out, even though they are modes, but impure modes. One is caught by intellect, other one is not able to catch by intellect. For example, while you open this subject, in a fourth spiritual developmental stage, right now, let's say we all are sitting and we all get the experiencing of the soul substance at this moment. So we are in the experiencing phase right now. Experiencing. I'm getting primary abstract comprehension, and I'm in nirvikalpta, and I have the super senses bliss. I'm experiencing. Those things are going on at that time. At that time. Undercurrent, there are certain rag and dvesha going on that this soul in the primary abstract comprehension is not able to pick it up. But undercurrent, it's called not able to pick it up by intellect. So they are undercurrent going on. Because they are going on, there's also karma bondage keeps on coming also. But soul is not able to pick it up because it has not having enough sharp intellect in the experiencing phase also. That's why it's an imperfect state. Even though purity has started, but partial purity has started, means partial impurity is there. What is the partial impurity? Undercurrent of rag and dvesha going on while I'm in the experiencing phase. Atmani anubhuti wakhate અબુદ્ધિપૂર્વકનો રાગ ચાલુ છે. અપ્રત્યાખ્યાની વરણ કશાય, પ્રત્યાખ્યાન વરણ કશાય, and સંજ્વલન કશાય, and no kashai. They are still going in undercurrent. They are going in undercurrent. They remain under the radar. So they have not been able to pick it up by the intellect. So that karma bondage keeps on going.
Are those anupcharit?
Yeah. What is it?
Are those anupcharit?
No, they are anupcharit because they have not been able to pick it up. They are asadbhut but anupcharit because they are under the radar. I'm not able to catch it up. So asadbhut for sure because they are rag and dvesh, but I'm not able to catch it up, so it's a anupcharit. All right. Any more questions? That's a good point. You brought it up over here. That was very nice. Good. Okay, then we can do the closing. Javani ke gyan se suje lokalok, sovani mastak namo sada det hu dok. 9 times Namo ka mantra. Jai Jinendra, thank you. Michami Dukram.
Jai Jinendra, Michami Dukram.
Bye. We'll see you.
Michami Dukram, Uncle. Jai Jinendra.
Bye.